Here's a sentence I didn't know I needed to hear. You can be a deeply ambitious person and be done working by mid-afternoon. Those two things are not in conflict. And this book explains why. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Verbal to Visual. I'm your host, Doug Neill, and my mission here is to bring visual thinking on par with reading and writing as a fundamental skill that can help you make sense of your world and thrive within it. And today I will be applying that skill to this book, Sustainable Ambition by Kathy Oneto, as I sketch out some of my favorite ideas from it. I felt myself being pulled toward Oneto's work from the moment I heard about the title of this book. I consider myself to be an ambitious person, but at times I've wondered if my ambitions have been, on the whole, helpful or at times damaging. So the concept of sustainable ambition is one that I can get on board with. Let's start with a visual metaphor that incorporates what, for me, was one of the most useful tools from the book. The visual metaphor involves you being out on a sailboat, and the size of your sail is a representative of the right ambition toward which you're able to expend the right effort, and that comes at the right time. Here, it's important to note that right simply means right for you. There is no universal right or wrong here. Identifying a right ambition is asking the question, how much do I want to do this? Give that a rating from 0 to 10. Right effort is about how much energy do I have to do this thing? Score that from 0 to 10. Right time is about asking yourself, do I have the time to do this right now? Score that from 0 to 10. So by the time you're done reading the book, and maybe even by the time you're done watching this video, you will be able to consider an ambition that's on your plate right now, give each of these questions a score from 0 to 10, and then connect the dots to see how big your sustainability sail is. That will help give you a sense for whether that particular ambition is worth pursuing. But in order to be able to answer these questions, it will be helpful to learn the other principles introduced in this book. So let me share some of my favorites. Early in the book, Oneto makes the argument that the concept of work-life balance is a myth. First of all, it creates the wrong mindset, establishing an unrealistic expectation that work and life need to be in balance at all times, and it puts work first, with the subtle implication that your work life deserves priority over your personal life. What if you put life first? And what if you instead thought of work and life as two different dials, each of which you get to turn up and down independently, focusing on one arc at a time? You might be in a period where your personal life is dialed up and your work life is dialed down. Maybe as you're supporting loved ones through a transition in their life. Or maybe your work life is dialed up right now and your personal life dialed back a bit as you pursue specific professional ambitions. I like this dial metaphor because it provides so much more flexibility compared to this concept of striking a balance and staying there. In addition to thinking about life and work as dials that you can turn up or down, Oneto also encourages us to define for ourselves our own success metrics, as opposed to defaulting to those that are given to us by society. This is where we get to one of my favorite quotes from the book, which comes from a journalist and communications consultant named Ava Dienel, who said, "I like to say now that I'm ambitious until 3 o'clock. There's something refreshing about defining that as one of your success metrics. When I took the time to define my own success metrics, I landed on 5 Ps. Property, the number of days I stop working on verbal to visual after lunch and get outside to work on our property. We recently bought a home on 2 acres, and current projects include establishing a food forest and building a home office up in the forest. The second P is parenting, the number of non-demanding or non-quote-unquote parenting interactions per week with my boys, just meaningful time spent together. Partnering, the number of dates or date-like experiences with my wife per month. Playing, the number of social interactions I have per month. Publishing, the number of times I hit publish on a YouTube video or hit go live on a workshop that I'm hosting. And presencing, the percentage of time each day that I feel tuned in to what's going on inside my own body. Those are some of my success metrics. You, of course, get to set your own. One thing you might be on the lookout for, though, is overcommitting. This is where the next framework comes in. Here, Oneto plots sustainability against ambition, each from low to high, and notes that there's this upside-down U-curve, showing that if your ambitions are too low, you might be stuck in a stagnant zone, which doesn't feel good and is not a sustainable place to be. If your ambitions are too high, you might enter the severe zone, where there's too much on your plate to handle. So what we're searching for then is that middle ground, the sustainable zone, where you have identified both the right number of ambitions and those specific ambitions are right-sized. So the number of ambitions that you take on at once are few enough to stay in the sustainable zone, and the success metrics that you set for each of those ambitions are the right size to stay in that same zone. But how do you go about evaluating which of your potential ambitions are actually right for you? That's where the next framework comes in. These 4 motivators will provide the wind that will propel your sailboat forward. And they include your vision, the vision that you have for your life, not a vision imposed by others, but instead your own. It also includes how you want to give, how you would like to use your specific gifts in your personal and professional life. The third motivator is your values, pulling from value fulfillment theory, which states that to live well is to succeed in terms of your own values. That alone could be your single success metric. And the fourth motivator is what you love to do. This is where you pay attention to your intrinsic motivation, instead of falling back on the shoulds that exist in so many facets of life. So when you're considering a specific ambition, ask yourself, is it in alignment with your vision for the life you'd like to lead, as well as the ways in which you'd like to give, and your values, and what you love to do. If you do find the right amount of alignment there, it's likely that you will be able to bring the right amount of effort to that ambition. But remember, we're talking about sustainability here. So it's not about full effort all the time. Instead, you need to be intentional about taking breaks. And that's where the pause and break blueprint comes in. This is where you set up buoys along your path to remind you to slow down, to pause, and to take a break at various timescales. What does a daily pause and break look like? How about a weekly pause and break? Or a monthly one? Or an even bigger quarterly or annual break? When reading this section of the book, I reflected that I'm pretty good at taking breaks on a daily and weekly basis. Breaks throughout my day to sit and read a book or go for a walk. The natural break that occurs at the weekend. But I'm not very good about setting up longer breaks on these larger timescales. It just so happens that yesterday was my twin boys' 5th birthday, and it hasn't been since they were born that I took any sort of extended break from my work. At that time, I created for myself about a 3-month sabbatical, and now because of reading this book, I'm setting the intention for my next sabbatical to be over the summer in 2027. I would like to create the conditions where that's possible. Since I run Verbal to Visual as a one-person business, that will take some planning, but it is possible. And I'm hoping that by declaring those plans now, I'll be able to set the things in place to be able to make that sabbatical a reality. And I think for my work, that boils down to just 2 things. Preparing some videos in advance that I'll be able to publish across those 3 months, and hiring someone to host the weekly workshops that occur inside of Verbal to Visual. Which makes this a good time to mention that if you are enjoying the way that I am sketching out these ideas from this good book, and you'd like to incorporate this skill into your own learning, problem solving, and communication, that's exactly what I teach inside of Verbal to Visual, where you will find a full library of visual thinking courses and those weekly live events, where we dive deep on specific skills, where you can get feedback on your own visual thinking projects, and be inspired by the work of other visual thinkers from around the globe. And you can check all of that out through a free week-long trial. You can head on over to verbaltovisual.com or follow the link in the description down below to learn more. Let's now round out our discussion of sustainable ambition with a few more key ideas. As you are considering multiple ambitions across work and life, which is something that I maybe haven't mentioned yet, that your ambitions for your life are just as important as your professional ambitions. You might find it helpful to coordinate your ambitions in one of 2 ways. You could go with a goal stacking approach, where you sequence your ambitions one after another if they build on each other in that way. Or you might create for yourself a goal system, where you focus on a central ambition first, that once established might support a handful of connected ambitions. As you are considering each of those ambitions, it's worth asking yourself the question, how good do you need to be? Anyone who considers themselves to be an ambitious person likely has experienced perfectionism, and you might think that for every ambition you take on, your goal should be to be the best. But that is not the case. There are plenty of areas in your personal life and professional life where just getting to good will serve your purposes well. So it's worth setting a specific target so that you can match the effort you give to the specific level of aspiration that you have for that particular ambition. To help you manage and coordinate your various ambitions, create for yourself a horizon map, which will allow you to plan in arcs and identify which ambitions are you focusing on now, what other ambitions might be in the near term, and then what others might be next. You can set your own specific time frames for these 3 buckets, and maybe also add a 4th for some time later. I like to think about the chunk of years, focusing on what I'm doing this year, what I might take on next year, and then what I might place the year after that. You might enjoy a shorter time frame like quarters, or maybe longer time frames like 2 or 3 year chunks. But no matter the specific time frame, it's helpful to be able to place some of your ambitions in the future, give them a placeholder location to make it easier to focus on the discrete number of ambitions that you're choosing to pursue right now. And to help you make that decision, let's return to this sustainability sale. When making the decision about which opportunities to pursue right now, you might find it helpful to sketch out this diagram here for each of the potential ambitions that you'd like to take on. Because seeing them side by side gives you more clarity about what your life might look like overall during this next arc. Here are a few examples that I sketched out on a flip chart up on the wall. As I mentioned earlier, one of my ambitions is to establish a food forest on our property. Something that I very much want to do and have a whole lot of energy for, but don't have a whole lot of time for. Another ambition of mine to spend a lot of time playing with my boys while they're still at this young age. It's something that I want to do, have a decent amount of time for, but oftentimes, especially after a day of work, I don't have as much energy as I would like to get into that playful mode. But in sketching these life ambitions out side by side, helped me to recognize a link. The boys do like spending time outside, and specifically building trails up in our forest, along which we'll be planting food, and that will lead to the home office that I'll be building. So bringing these two together is a natural way to pursue both of those ambitions at once. On the professional side of things, one of my ambitions is YouTube. Another is continuing to build out the curriculum that exists within Verbal to Visual. And another potential ambition that I've had at times is to seek out corporate gigs, custom visual thinking workshops that I host for organizations. This is something that has the potential to bring in a decent amount of money, but after pursuing that for a while, I realized it really wasn't something that I wanted to do or had the energy to do, partially because of all the admin that has to go into even setting up one of those workshops. I have much more energy and excitement for making videos here on YouTube. And what's also helpful to note is what it would take to extend any of these metrics in a positive direction. I would have more time for YouTube if I hired a video editor. Right now, I edit all my own videos, but in the future, I might pursue this. I might feel differently about corporate gigs if I hired a business manager to support the admin work that goes along with those gigs. If I have to spend less energy setting them up, and instead get to just show up and work with an interesting group of people, that would make this ambition more in alignment with my life. And I noticed that curriculum development is something that I do want to pursue, but I sometimes have a little bit less desire and energy compared to making YouTube videos. So that's just something that I need to acknowledge to make sure that I set aside the right amount of time to continue improving that curriculum. What that looks like right now is the commitment that I've made to add one new lesson per month to the examples section of the Make Models course, the course that I spent all of last year building. So I encourage you to sketch out your own sustainability scale for each of the personal and professional ambitions that you're considering so that you can see them as a set, see how they interact with each other, and then make a decision about which you'd like to pursue and how. And if you're in the midst of making those decisions, I highly encourage you to go pick up the book Sustainable Ambition. There are plenty of stories and frameworks that I didn't have time to mention in this video, and I believe that while reading it, you will gain a whole lot of clarity around the next steps that you might like to take in your personal life and your professional life, and then start taking those steps sustainably. Thank you so much for watching and exploring these topics with me. If you decide that building your visual thinking skills is an ambition that you'd like to take on, then do consider joining us inside of Verbal to Visual. I'd love to see what you're working on. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.